Well, what do you say we head back to the Wayback Machine and let's set it for the year 1975? Now, that was 50 years ago. Do you remember what you were doing 50 years ago? Well, I remember 50 years ago, I just arrived in Fort Wayne after leaving active duty in the Air Force, ended up joining the Air National Guard, flew with them until I retired. But 1975, my first year in Fort Wayne, went to see a movie. Movie theaters was behind Glenbrook Mall over there on Fernhill area, and saw a movie, and that movie I have never forgotten. Two movies I have seen in my life that have affected me. The outcome has affected me, and I'll tell you which the two movies. One of them is the movie I went to see in 1975. The movie, Jaws. That's right. People were lined up to see this Stephen Spielberg movie, Jaws. Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw, and Murray Hamilton. Murray Hamilton, remember, he was the mayor of Vanity Island. So now you kind of know who the characters were. But the movie was Jaws, 1975. The theaters were just packed with people. Take a look at what people go to theaters. Want to see this movie, and it had a music, the musical opening. Remember with the girl, jumping in, taking off her clothes, going skinny dipping in the ocean, and that music starts to sounding, and she's swimming along, and you hear that pulsating music. Steven Spielberg. Things weren't going as well as you think when he was making that movie. Spielberg was a young director, didn't have a lot of legs, as they say. He built this shark machine, and you can see what it looks like. And it worked pretty good on the land, worked pretty good in regular old water. Trouble was, he put it in seawater and it didn't work real good. They had a lot of problems with that shark and a lot of problems shooting the video for that. That shark was not cooperative. It sank one time. I mean, there was a lot of issues involving that shark. But the shark, and the movie came out pretty good, right? Everybody saw the movie. Everybody was scared. That was 50 years ago. Well, it turns out NBC on June 20th, which happens to be tonight, is going to be repeating the movie Jaws. Now, there's a couple of things about Jaws that caught my attention. Roy Schneider, great lines. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. It's a classic line that came out of that movie. Richard Dreyfuss, Hooper, the marine biologist, whatever he was, and then of course there was the mayor of the island, and his Mayor Vaughn, I think his name was. He wanted those beaches open because that's the time people came there. The beaches open. He wanted people out there swimming, and well, didn't work out quite the way they'd hoped. But the big thing about that movie was Robert Shaw. Now, Robert Shaw, if you remember, he played in the movie From Russia with Love. Remember, he was the assassin. I think his name was Donald Red Grant. Muscular, just He-Man kind of guy, in From Russia with Love back in 1963. And he also then played in 1973 in the movie The Sting. Remember, he was loyal. Doyle Lonigan was his name. He was the pigeon. He was the one they were going to take. Well, he was offered the script in 1975, and he didn't want to do it. He said, no, I'm not interested in this movie. But his wife and his secretary said, look, this is the greatest movie we've seen since you did the James Bond film From Russia with Love. This is a movie you've got to do. He wasn't going to do it in the beginning, but they talked him into it. Turns out he was the right guy for the movie. The thing about that movie that caught my attention was that when they were sitting in the boat and he was talking about being on the USS Indianapolis and talking about the sinking of the boat and what happened. And that's, for the most part, was actually true what he said, because I talked to one of those people that survived the Indianapolis some years ago on the radio. But he gave a soliloquy. Sitting there listening to that soliloquy was the most powerful one I think I've ever heard delivered on any movie. That's one I'll never forget. Talking about the shark and the eyes and being in the water. And he never missed a beat. I don't know how he memorized that entire thing, but he did. It was brilliant. And then all the stuff that went on about the shark chasing him and and getting back at the shark and trying to win, and ultimately the end. It was a great movie, but as I said, only 2 movies have affected me, and I ain't the only person they affected. First movie I ever saw that affected me was the movie Psycho, and it still bothers me to this day because I do not, in my shower, I have a clear glass shower door. I have that, yep. And I saw that years ago. I still have a clear glass shower door. And if I go to a hotel, I make sure I double lock the bathroom door when I go into a hotel. Yep, there you go. That's Psycho. Now, Jaws, I do not go in the ocean. I took my kids, my wife to Hawaii. They were swimming in there. They were in the key off a boat swimming. I ain't going in. You see, because when you get in the ocean, you are no longer the top of the food chain. Yes, you are not at the top. You are now subject to other animals who are above you. One of them is a shark. So there's an answer. And apparently a lot of people were that way because back in 1975 when the movie opened, people around America would not go in the ocean from sea to shining sea. People would not go in the ocean. I was talking to my wife about this. She said, yeah, we used to go. She's living down in Florida then. She said, we used to go to the beach. The women would go and play in the water. The men would not go. And this was she said they were manly men. Wouldn't go in the water. So there's sharks in there. So yes, I have been scared of sharks since this movie. And I don't shower unless I got a clear shower curtain or a glass shower door because of Psycho. I'm a little different. Okay, fine. Those are the things that bother me, those 2 movies. But now Jaws and the movie and all the things that went with it. You see, remember the lady swimming in the water when the shark got her? All those things happened in that movie. And guess what? For the 50th anniversary, they're reliving it and turning it over again and allow you to experience once again one of the most frightening movies of all time from a guy, Stephen Spielberg, when he was a fresh young lad trying to get himself started, almost failed, but ended up producing one of the most blockbuster movies of all time. The movie from 1975, Jaws.